Welcome to the Atheist in Recovery podcast, where we talk about finding hope in recovery. And now your host, Dr. Adina Silvestri.
Bonjour, Atheists in Recovery Land, and welcome to episode 70 of the Atheists in Recovery podcast. And today continues our November series of a care package for the holidays. Today we're talking about 7 tips on how not to overeat during Thanksgiving. So seasons greetings can really be a mixed bag. They're a time, I feel, of getting together. Looks a little different this year, but of getting together with loved ones, slowing down, counting our blessings even. But it can also be a time for overindulgence. If you struggle with overindulgence during the holidays, then this show is for you. It is jam-packed with tips and tools on how to not overeat during this holiday season. Before we get started, let's take a minute and talk about disordered eating. Like many mental health disorders, eating disorders often co-occur with substance abuse disorders. In fact, those with eating disorders have a greater chance of also having a substance use disorder. Eating disorders and drinking both stem from the need to quell anxiety, stress, trauma, or whatever environmental triggers you may be experiencing at that moment. I know a few things about eating disorders, as many of you probably don't know. I specialize in treating women with eating disorders. And so this is a topic that is near and dear to me. Okay, let's get started. 7 tips on how not to overeat during Thanksgiving. Number 1, don't skip meals. It's not uncommon for people to skip earlier meals on the day to save up for this Thanksgiving feast. But that is a no-no. That is a no bueno. You don't want to do that because then you'll end up binging on the Thanksgiving meal, trying to get all of your calories in that one meal. So definitely don't skip meals. If you must, maybe just have a light breakfast in the morning. Make time to move is number 2. Set aside time to be active on the big day. Maybe it's a pre-feast yoga flow. I'm sure they have those. Maybe it's a turkey trot or a long walk with your family. I, for one, tend to do the turkey trot. I usually go to Buffalo, where my family is, and we all, I don't know why they do this with me, but we all go out in the 0-degree weather for a nice 5-mile walk. Most of the people there are dressed up as turkeys. It is a great time. And then I am primed and ready to start my Thanksgiving meal. This year, it'll probably be more like a online turkey trot, but hey, whatever works for us, right? Whatever works. Just make sure that you're getting that body moving. Number 3, make a balanced plate. I am not a dietitian, nor do I play one on TV, but I do know from working with many dietitians and with many individuals that when you fill your plate at least half with veggies, about 50% of your plate, then you'll feel less overstuffed and more satisfied. And some of us that are listening, if you're not in recovery and you're going to drink, please know that this will only lower your inhibitions and lead to more unhealthy food choices. So definitely be careful with that. Number 4, plan your indulgences. So I definitely have a few of my indulgences that I like to plan. It'll probably involve some sort of pie at the end of dinner. And it's okay. Just tell yourself that you are going to have something. Telling yourself that you're going to refuse yourself something, like food, will just make it more likely that you will binge afterwards. Your inner rebel will come out. And so plan out the indulgences. As long as you stop eating when you're about a 7 out of 10, and 10, by the way, would be like physically ill, on the fullness scale, then you'll be good to go. Just make sure that you allow yourself those those treats. Number 5, consciously decide what to skip. Just as you should decide what treats are worth it to go into for your holiday meal with a clear idea of what foods are not worth it. Brainstorm maybe 1 to 2 foods that you don't actually enjoy. And so when the time comes, you'll know that you're going to skip them. Maybe Aunt Sally loves to make her green bean casserole and you are just not a fan. So, just make sure that you are going to skip it in favor of something that you do enjoy. Make this a memorable and delightful experience for you, not something that you're going to regret later because you didn't want to offend somebody. Number 6, eat slowly while sitting down. Research shows that people tend to overeat when standing or eating quickly. So it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to recognize that you're full. So slow down, enjoy the company that you're with, and regularly practice mindful eating. I have some blogs on my website about mindful eating that are written by me and by a dietitian that I normally refer to. And so definitely take a look at those, and I'll link them in the show notes as well. And number 7, just say thanks, but no thanks to guilt. Some people feel guilty or shame after indulging, but it's best to avoid this if at all possible so you can get right back on your normal regimen. The guilt will only lead to overindulging or binging. And this is often why people go on a bender from November to December 30th, is what the research says. And so, thanks, but no thanks. And most importantly, guys, instead of judging yourself, stay positive. Approach the situation with curiosity. Ask yourself whether or not you could do anything different in the future to feel better than you do in that moment. If the answer is yes, get down a pen and paper and start writing. Write down a few ways to approach the situation differently next time. And here's the secret. 1 meal on 1 day of overindulgence will not derail your progress. I think that's something that the guys I work with really struggle with, just thinking and overthinking about what they're going to eat on that day. And it only leads to a cycle of shame and guilt. And then going overboard usually will satisfy that shame and guilt. And so the cycle just continues on and on and on. Okay, so just be kind to yourself. And you could always get back on the wagon the next day. There's no shame in that. So those are my 7 tips on how not to eat during Thanksgiving. And if you liked this episode on disordered eating, let me know. Message me, find me on Facebook or Twitter, and let me know what you think, and I'll create more. And during this season of COVID, wherever you decide to have your Thanksgiving meal, maybe it's outside, maybe it's via Zoom, like I will be doing, I just hope, A.I.R community, that it's a good one. And that you take care of yourself during this season, and most of all, that you stay safe. One more thing before you go. People ask me all the time what books I recommend to individuals in recovery, so I decided to create a list of my top 7 addiction recovery memoirs for you to listen to. I love Audible, and you can support the podcast by creating a free or paid account with Audible and start listening to some of the best recovery memoirs at your convenience. Perhaps a psychological thriller is more your thing, and I can't think of a better way to wind down after a meal, like listening to a good messing with your head kind of book. So head over to atheistsinrecovery.com/audible, and that's AUDIBLE, and sign up for a free 30-day trial today. Again, that's atheistsinrecovery.com/audible, and I hope you find your new best friend in the form of a book today. Take care, guys. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Atheists in Recovery podcast. For more great info and to stay up to date, head over to atheistsinrecovery.com.